Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, March 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We are meeting in the lower theater. There is a Zoom link on the agenda, so if you need to check it, you can get it off the website. First time of business is called to order. Second is to approve the minutes of March 1st, 2022 is in your packet. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any further discussion, corrections, deletions, omissions? They're noted. Hearing none. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting. I have none.
No update. Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Board members, no. We're moving right to it tonight. Must be hot and tonight. Public comment on items not on the agenda, 3 minutes per person. If you intend to speak, please state your name so we get it in the minutes. Public out there? Oh, we know who's hiding, okay. No comments yet, so we'll move on to the manager's report.
Thank you. Just want to give a few updates for the board. We have been going back and forth with our friends at FEMA. They have submitted our packages as we had discussed. They've gone through the state process. We're now at the federal process. Been a few back and forth meetings with our federal reviewers. So I'm hopeful that we're at the end of the review process that we'll actually start to see them now turn around with our project worksheet agreements and then ultimately our reimbursement, our actual money. So it's been a long slog from the July storms till now, and hopefully we'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we'll start to see some of those monies flowing back to our town funds. The meeting tomorrow night, I don't know, Peter, was anybody gonna make any announcement or just a general announcement about the ARPA funds public meeting for tomorrow?
Yeah, it's on the agenda. There is it's
Right.
on the website. There's a Zoom link there. Remember that those people on Zoom cannot vote. They can participate in the discussion, but they cannot vote on any items. So it's preferable if you are there in person, if you intend to do any voting. So that being said, we'll try and see everybody tomorrow night at 5:30. And I understand by email that there's going to be some food served at 5 o'clock, starting at 5 o'clock. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout for that and see where we go from there. That's the first of 2 public meetings. So
At the Opera House?
yeah, ARPA. Right. These are for ideas of trying to spend all the millions of dollars we may or may not get. So hope everybody can come and have some decent discussion. So take it from there.
I guess the last thing I'll just bring up, and this is sort of a general comment to anybody in the public as well as the board, is obviously we're transitioning from our plowing season to our pothole season. And our gravel roads and weight limits and all the other fun stuff that comes with mud season. So I guess a couple things to the public. First of all, we do, we are out patching in this time of the year. So if you do have a pothole or you have an area of concern, you can always leave a message with the highway guys or Andy. We'll make sure that we get around and try to address those as quickly as we can. And then also the same, we'd appreciate, especially with this time of the year, the gravel roads, before we can really get in there and do a lot of work, they get a little bit, a little spongy, a little difficult at times. So please pay attention to the restrictions and weight limits and postings and help us out so that we don't have to go back and do additional repairs on some of these roads once we're, further into the spring and summer. So that was basically it.
Okay, anyone else have anything? Hearing none, we'll move right into the agenda. The first item is the meeting of the liquor commissioners. We will be approving or disapproving Bell's Falls Country Club an outside consumption permit. Lisa I's Market, second class license. Traction River Village Market, a second class license. Loyal Order of Moose, Lodge 527 will be a first class, third class license and outside consumption permit. Chippy Mart is a second class license, and Wunderbar was looking for a first class license and third class license. Applications are in your packet. So if anybody has any comments, or let's get a motion on the floor first to approve or disapprove, and we can do them all as I just read them, rather than do each one individually. This requires a signature and forms here somewhere, Scott has them, I think.
And I think they're in the.
So I'll entertain a motion to get the process on the floor.
Okay, so you have to move, you have to name all these, right?
Yeah, just name them what they're at.
I move that we approve the liquor licenses for the resized Saxon's River Village Market, the World Order of the Moose Lodge 527, Jiffy Mart number 464, and Wonder Bar LLC,
And the Bells Falls Country Club.
and the Bellas Falls Country Club.
Second that.
Okay, motion remains seconded to approve the licenses. Appears the one for Tucker, the Saxon River Village Market, it looks like maybe some posters missing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. nothing's
They-
signed
They're
yet,
no
right?
big deal, but I mean, it's not gonna hold up the process, but I think it needs to be signed before it goes into the state.
Okay,
So either you can come in tomorrow and see the town clerk and sign it.
okay.
So the last page, there's a section there, a couple of pages. that need to be
Yeah, I was
signed.
looking for that too. here.
So. Motion was made and seconded to approve the licenses, liquor license for Bells Falls Country Club, outside consumption, lease size, second class license, Saxon River Village Market, second class license, Loyal Order of Moose, first class, third class, outside consumption. Jiffy Mart, a second class license, Wonder Bar needs a first class and third class license. Any discussion other than the corrections to sign? That being said, all those in favor would say aye.
All right,
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. And you have some signatures over this, or? you want to
Yeah,
use one?
I think in that folder.
Oh, okay, they're right here, yeah. All
That
right.
should be, and
So-
they've got a tab there for each one that needs
You're
signature.
all set.
thank you.
Yeah, we'll sign these up and let's take the check the town clerk tomorrow to sign those.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome, thank you. Okay, review bike ped committee, and I think someone's from Dakota. There we go. So, bike ped first,
Yes.
you're up.
Yeah.
So you can carry the, you want to yell from the back there. Yeah, just grab and pull a chair over there. At the end of the table where Rick is, that's me.
Okay, good.
You can update us on where you are, whatever. We're still waiting for commission members. We've
Yeah.
got 2 or 3 applications, I guess, and Scott's on the way.
Right, we got a press
Probably
release that we're
The
gonna
next
post.
meeting,
Right.
so we can, take our pick from there and have it go by you and see how many people or whatever, from there. So,
Great, I know of two who,
okay, I think those 2 you emailed me those, I
Yeah.
think.
yeah.
And I think Scott has 1 or 2 also.
Yep.
Ones that came in, so.
Yep.
And what I would like, and I think I wrote this to you, is if you have something that I can share too on our Facebook page, on our website. Is that, or is that not?
No, we have a press release that we finished up yesterday,
Uh-huh.
so we'll post it tomorrow. And we'll put it on our website. I'll send you a copy of it. You can post it Facebook
Oh,
or
great, that's what,
anywhere else you think might be appropriate or
Yeah.
people might see it. So, yeah, the more the merrier.
yeah, okay.
That's
And have you been to Westminster? I understood you were
Well, it
going.
got canceled, so I was
Oh.
on the agenda for last Wednesday,
Okay,
the weather,
Just-
yeah.
just wondered how you made out the update. so.
Yeah, and he said he let me know when they reschedule it, but I haven't heard yet. And we might go skip to the next one.
All right, so when we get any further, just if you'd update us on how you made out there, and then we'll process the other ones, and
Yeah.
hopefully next first meeting in April, we can do appoint the committee so you can get started.
Yeah, great.
Anything else you'd like?
No, I think mainly I wanted to, follow up on that, getting word out, so.
Okay.
yeah. And they're sending them, you still don't know yet? Oh, that's the other thing, is the, maybe possibility of Rick being the liaison. Is that, or
Yeah,
I don't know if that's decided or if you're gonna decide today.
no, we can wait till we get all the things and just then disappoint at the same time, just get
Okay, so
everybody done. So
if anyone runs a letter by me, or not a letter by me, but. If they
let them
send-
intent or something,
Send it to. who?
Scott.
To
Yep,
Phil, to Scott.
manager, Rock, yep.
and then he'll have them all,
An email,
bring them in, and
please.
he'll include them in our packet, we can go over them.
Okay.
If we got any questions, we can probably contact you on the email or something.
Sure.
Or you can see who's got, and then go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And do you have a maximum number of people you're? I mean, it's not my committee, so.
Well, I would think it would be between 3 and 5. It's either better to have odd numbers than even one. So if it comes to break a vote, you got, 3 to 2 or 4 to 1 or whatever.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah, 5 tends to work pretty well.
It gets more
Anything more
difficult,
than
the
that.
larger you get,
yeah,
the harder it is
just one
to
Yeah.
really,
schedule and distribute information, and so it just makes the process really cumbersome.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent.
The straight places now, the Trails Committee come up.
All right, we're cruising.
Oh, yeah.
My name's Connor Floyd. So I have a map that you can pass around.
You said he was in our packet.
I think we got those in our packet.
Oh, nice. All right.
Yep, yep.
Perfect. Yeah. All right, so thanks for having me. My name is Connor Floyd. I live here in Bellows Falls and am one of the board members of the Windham County Trails Alliance. So I'm just here to kind of provide an update. There's no specific requests or anything, but I want to make sure that we've got open communication, you know what's going on up at Oak Hill, and happy to answer any questions as well. So just a quick reminder, Lakota is primarily a mountain biking club, but we're building multi-use trails up on Oak Hill, for the entire public to use. So we're maintaining what was already there, and on this map you can see there were 4 new trails proposed a few years back now, probably 2 or 3. And we have all of these trails exist in some state, where that's why we're not looking to expand yet, because we're still, we're a volunteer run organization. It takes a lot of work to build trails. You don't totally realize it until you go and try to do one.
And maintain them.
And maintain them, yep. So the landowners, it's the town of Rockingham, the village of Bellows Falls, and then there's one private landowner that has granted us access as well. So it's really these 3 parcels that make up the trail network thus far. So what we've been up to, like I said, we've built all those trails. We host weekly beginner rides at the high school for folks who are interested in mountain biking, but maybe aren't really intermediate yet. The Oak Hill's very steep. And so especially with access primarily down at the rec center, it's just, if you're a beginner just getting into mountain biking, it kicks your ass right in the beginning, and it's very demoralizing to try to get into the sport there. So the high school trails are just much better for folks that are just getting into it. But we also host weekly advanced rides with folks that are more comfortable, and primarily we use the Oak Hill trails for that. We also partnered with the town and the Bellows Falls Bike Project on the pump track, and we're really excited to see that going in, working on that as well. So this year, as I mentioned, we're really trying to finish up some of those existing trails, improving the maintenance. There's some wet spots we're always dealing with, kind of drainage and water on the trails. And then we're also hoping to improve signage, and that signage is both physical signs in the forest kind of directing you as to where to go. And then also we use a mobile app called Trail Forks, which again, the audience is primarily geared towards bikers, but it's kind of just it's one of those online apps where you're able to map out the trails and then you can look and see. That's really nice because it's like, if I'm going to a new location, I check Trail Forks to see. We've met a few people on the trails that were, traveling from Burlington down south, and they saw that it was right off the exit, so they stopped and decided to check it out. So it's a good way to kind of get folks that you wouldn't really have otherwise coming to check out the trails. And I think that's really it, hopefully I hope that either in the fall or the winter, I'll be able to come back and start talking about new trails, meaning that we've finished, what you see on the map here. But there's no promises there, that's more of a warning. And I'm happy to, show anyone around. I don't know if you've gotten to check out the trails up there, but yeah, as the summer goes on and we do work on signage, hopefully it'll be easier and easier to go check them out on your own as well.
Yeah, I've got a question. Have you been working with the Saxon River Valley Trail folks at all?
Yeah, we're loosely friendly, I would say, we're on their email list. We try to make like one of their meetings a year.
Any chance for linkage, or is it just not that the geography just doesn't cooperate?
I think Gary and Bonnie might have a better idea than that. The one thing I can say is that, like Saxon's River Trails, I think is more about thinking of connectivity. Whereas like Lakota, this is a good example of we're more looking at like density, right? We want to pick a small kind of parcel of land and we want to put a lot of fun trails in there to kind of check out and explore. I don't know if there's
Well,
anything more.
the best connection that I know of is just through residential. So there's the trail that comes out to Birch, I think, Birch Street, which is off of Pleasant Street. And so then you would just, hop over 121 and find the nearest place where the Saxon River Trail, which is right around Forest Street, something like that. So there's sort of a loose connection.
I think there is, if you're looking at the
And
map,
signage, to direct people.
if you're like the left-hand side, like just off over here in between the interstate and Oak Hill, there's more land, and we've had a few preliminary conversations with some of those landowners. And so I think if we were to expand that way, we might get closer to being able to like drop down off the hill. So it's more of, trails versus neighborhood with roads. Exactly. So that's a long-term possibility, but we're trying to build our volunteer base as well. But until that happens, the trail work happens very slowly. So that's very long down the road for us. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so the main connection that Swifty were trying to do was on the brochures, on the marketing, on the map. So an overall map that has all the trails and that you can get to them in the wayfinding project. We'll have a QR code that you scan, it brings you to a website, and then trails. You'll be able to see the steep mountain bike Lakota trails and the level family-friendly Riverfront Park Trail. And the ones that can connect physically will have dotted lines where they will connect in the future right now.
It's scary, that Riverfront Trail, had a conversation with Tony James when he was building oil in the house, and he's locking that gate down there. It goes to,
Gabriel Road.
he and Sean McGinnis have pieced that, because there's some issues going on down there. And it probably was not a courtesy when it hurt to touch base with them. And just explain what's going on, the other trail terminates out there. And according to the map we had the last time, they showed some parking areas. And I guess he's concerned about vandalism with his vehicles and stuff that park right out there in the open. And if no one's there,
Yes.
this place, it might not.
Yeah, good idea. We'll
Just
get
touch base on it.
Tony and.
Because he's
Sean
on, yeah,
and that.
he's got quite a bit of focus down there.
Yeah.
And with the fuel shortages, I don't think you need somebody down there draining his truck.
No, it's probably a year to 2 years out before it will get that far. It's probably a third of the way there right now.
Yeah.
But definitely we'll
But-
include them in the planning. Thank you.
I just have a couple questions.
Any other questions?
So it's mostly mountain biking, but hikers can go up there. There's enough room on the trail that they can step aside if a biker comes along.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And so it is, like what you see, the BYCC Ridge Trail, that existed beforehand,
Yeah.
right? And that, so it's hiking, and it is definitely multi-use. And there is always, it's like a balance because bikes, they move quickly,
Yeah.
right? And you have hikers and you have families. And so we are trying to get more signage that's specifically reminding folks of really the courtesy is bikes should be moving over for for hikers.
Mhm.
Doesn't always happen, but that's what we encourage, and I think it'll help once we get a little bit more of that signage up there. To remind people
And
about
just the length, say if you did sort of a big loop around the whole trail system, what's?
that. I should know that, right? Like
I was
how-
trying to calculate from the map. It's a couple miles by the
Yeah.
looks.
It is, it's definitely a few miles, in terms of miles of trails, I guess like 2, 3, 5, but I don't know.
Yeah, I started to, I downloaded the app.
Um,
But, okay, great.
And electric bikes are welcome.
Yes, we have, that's another, man, you guys are hitting all like the contentious biking questions.
I'm an electric bike person, so.
Yeah, there's different classes, right? So there's like, exactly, I'm not familiar, we don't have a specific policy, it hasn't become a problem yet. The concern with electric bikes is that it increases erosion, and so, exactly, so in some of those things, like until it becomes a problem, we're not really trying to add extra rules or anything like that. Yeah.
And is it something that, weekends are likely the busiest time, so if you are, like, there's a lot of people who like to walk around town at night, if they were, midday or mid-morning, it probably would be less likely to be riding into that bike, so.
Yeah,
But you don't know your usage yet, because it's still too early.
I think we get really light usage on these trails right now. I think if it grows, I think success may then add, right, some more problems that we need to think about. They're good problems to have, right? If we have more people using them. I walk the trails quite a bit. I bike them, and I'll maybe see like 1 or 2 folks out on the trail sometimes, but it's not like there's like Keene has a ton of bikers
Yes.
and stuff.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened here, and it is like a little balance. So we want that, but we also want to make sure that they're helping build the trails and being
Right.
courteous and everything. So it is a balance as we grow, and hopefully we're able to do that organically. And that's something we're really excited about. We get about 10 folks on average to that beginner biking group, which is really good. And that's kind of right. We want to bring new people into the sport as well. We don't want to just have like the folks that I started 2 years ago biking, so I haven't been doing it my whole life. And yeah, we want to have that diversity and who's out there using the trails.
Great.
I have a question. Yeah, so if people just want to get in touch with you because they want to volunteer or they want to join your trail rides or anything, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so our email is Wyndham County Trails, just spelled out normally, @gmail.com. We've got an active Facebook, Wyndham County Trails Alliance. I am not on Instagram, but I think we have an Instagram as well. But I think between either that email or the Facebook, I would say are the 2 best ways. And we'll post events, like we'll have a kickoff trail building day this spring, and we'll post our weekly events on Facebook as well. So that's probably your best bet.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Yeah, thanks.
Anything else?
So thank you, everyone.
Okay, let's move on to item number 2, which is the Vermont Declaration of Inclusion. There is a draft copy in your packet. We can make suggestions or corrections, additions to it, or deletions, and hopefully adopt it at the next meeting in April, the first meeting in April. Doesn't have to be adopted tonight. But there is information attached there too, 5 or 6 items that explain what it's for, what it does. Okay, any other questions or suggestions? No, okay, you can bring it back.
I'm assuming our policies already meet these conditions, right? We don't have to do
I
any-
think these are more for a increased focus
Yeah.
on some of the concepts and trying to forward some of the, I think to raise some awareness for this May proclamation conclusion.
It's just that this strive to ensure all our actions, policies, and operating procedures reflect this commitment. So I'm assuming I haven't looked at our policy language recently, but I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I-
sure,
Put through something, but
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much inclusive. But
Yeah.
this just makes it more official. That if we need to change something, we can change it, I think.
Okay.
And this also covers us for, if we haven't got anything in there now, at least it covers that
Right.
that's the
We're,
intent.
we're making an attempt to get in the right
Right.
direction.
Question, Scott, when When we're hiring people, we have to make any kind of an attempt to search for candidates that represent racial ethnic diversity.
We try, and I think hopefully one of the items that comes out of this from the statewide perspective is we have a very difficult time in Vermont coming up with a broad candidate pool for a lot of our openings. And so hopefully this can create some assistance because we don't really recruit regionally. I mean, most of my openings are quite frankly, they're local. And I think to move this process forward, we're going to need some regional help to develop a real pool of people that just wouldn't necessarily look at our openings and sort of be part of our process. So I think it's really going to be something hopefully that will be an outcome of this process.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. Certainly support anything we can do, you know, direction to be more, you know, just and inclusive. I certainly support anything we can do to move in that direction of, you know, being fully just and inclusive.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to adopt the proposed transportation policy updates. You read the first article that we did. They did incorporate some of the changes we brought up last week. There are 5 motions, and instead of going for every sheet that we have here, Scott has kindly given us a signature sheet, so we can just make the motions and adopt them or disapprove them, and they're all written out there, so if somebody wants to start it off, we'll go ahead.
I'll start with one then. I move we adopt the town of Rockingham road and bridge standards as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the town of Rockingham Road and Bridge standards as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Go to number 2 and 3. You want to read 2?
I move we adopt the town of Rockingham highway construction specification policy as presented.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the town of Rockingham highway construction specifications policy as presented. Further questions? Comments? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Number 3.
I move we adopt the town of Rockingham roadworks, stormwater connections, and highway access policy as presented.
Second.
A second.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the town of Rockingham roadworks, stormwater connections, and highway access policy as presented. Any further questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor would say aye. All those opposed, nay. Go to number 4.
I move we adopt the town of Rockingham's highway acceptance policy as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
Made and seconded to approve, to adopt the Rockingham, town of Rockingham's highway acceptance policy as presented. Any further discussion, questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor would say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. And finally, number 5.
I move we adopt the town of Rockingham Class 4 highways and trails policy as presented.
Second.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt the town of Rockingham Class 4 highways and trails policy as presented. Any comments, discussion?
I'm glad to see that we're going to think about ATVs. It's been an incredibly contentious issue and dangerous in other towns of Vermont. So I'm glad to see we're thinking about that.
It just says at a later date. That's really kind of hoping to get something here.
There's a little more work that has to be done because there is some additional, it's a little more specific than the general guidance that were adopted tonight. So I think the point was Chuck's gonna come back with something more direct that I think is also more enforceable. So this is, these policies will still be in place, but I think that one will be more specific and more
Okay,
actionable
okay, I got you.
update. So, yes, it will be coming back to you.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Signature page is coming around. Take care of all those. Discussion of, adopt the updates local emergency management plan.
So we do this on an annual basis. Sue gave me an update that we'll add as an annex. We have a primary and an alternate shelter identified. She showed me a third option that is not on your current list that we will add to this list. That will be a, is it the Grange? And so you got to,
Article Grange has been certified by the Red Cross for 25 cots if people need to use that as a shelter. And also can be 70 people can use it if it's just cooling, not cots, but we need a cooling or heat situation. And they've also worked with Rockingham Fire Department if it's needed for any emergency need at the time they're on the list, even if it's just for the Grange to serve meals to the firefighters or whatever that needs to be done. So it's a good option for that end of town because people likely won't come from Bartonsville all the way down to Second River School or somewhere else. May not be able to get there for those routes. So, like happened in Irene, we couldn't get there.
so we'll add that as an alternate and then make sure that those contacts are also in the plan. So it's very helpful, you know, during those times to have that resource.
Yeah, I don't think I gave you the person's name to contact. So that's why I sent that to you.
Great, and then we'll make sure that's an annex as well, so we'll add that, but I appreciated Sue to point that out, which is very helpful.
Okay, so that being said, we need a motion to authorize, to adopt the local emergency management plan and authorize Sean McGinnis, myself as a chair, to sign said document.
So moved.
Second.
Made seconded to adopt the local emergency management plan and have Sean McGinnis and myself sign said document. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, now it's down to discussion of Australian ballot special meeting discussion. This got brought up at a town meeting where we found out that we voted to go Australian ballot incorrectly for 2 years. Overwhelmingly it passed that everybody seems to want to go Australian ballot, but in order to do so, we need a special meeting to do it. I did get an email from my email with Will Senning, and there's no real special hoops you have to jump through other than to, you have to have a warning, and we have to figure out a wording of the warning. Whether we want all the town articles or just the money articles to be voted Australian ballot. Makes more sense to me if we have all the articles on there to vote Australian ballot and it's discussed at the informational meeting. Then we can decide whether we want to have the informational meeting a week ahead of time or the night before, which makes a lot of sense if we have it a week ahead of time, but it's a time to figure out how we do it, whether it's a weekend Saturday or whether it's a likely meeting, and then we got to work around with school vacation schedules if we plan to do it somewhere in April. It says that you can't do it. Let me read what it says here. Okay. On here. Holding a special meeting, it says you need to be warned no more than 40 and no less than 30 days before the election, and all of the other basic election procedures could apply. This would be a floor vote from the floor. So I think we need to get out plenty of advertising, press release to tell people that they're going to, because if they know naysayers show up, when no vote the yes sayers, then, you know, we don't want to try and do another meeting to keep battling this out one way or the other. So it should be interesting. We may not even have to do it until May, but. So, and then if you vote at that time, it will take effect for the 2023 vote. So. we're good
Is
to go.
there a time frame before that? I mean, is like you have to do it 6 months before?
No,
And then it's just any time before?
no, anytime before, and then if the vote, if it goes to Australian ballot, any vote thereafter that comes up for a special vote, it's all by Australian ballot. You don't just do the main town meeting thing, and then if you have another special meeting for something else, you have to approve funds or a loan or a bond, that also has to go to Australian ballot. Once you move to Australian ballot, everything gets to go to Australian ballot. That's how it works.
How can we gauge public sentiment on the idea of weekend versus weeknight? Because as we said last time, Westminster seems to have a pretty good turnout for their weekend meetings. People are a little more, they're not going into 10 o'clock at night. to get more.
Well, true, but you gotta remember, you're only gonna have 2, possibly 3 articles on the, depending on the wording, the town one is probably a little easier than the library one. Because the town one would be just all articles be voted by, just shall the voters vote to do all articles by Australian ballot. And that's pretty much it there, and that covers all those, but the library one is a little different because the intent, I think, when talking to the director of the library is that they want the full amount of their budget to be funded by the town. So if they put in a budget of 500,000, that's what they want to get voted on and to get appropriated. Right now, how it works is that they can submit a budget, and then the town can, when we're doing our budget, if we need to cut somewhere, and like right now, their budget this year was 431,555, and we appropriated, as we have the past 4 years, 379,250 bucks. So, it becomes a question, so we may have to have 2 articles on the ballot to see which way they want to appropriate all the money, or, there's a sort of a trap you could get yourself into, because then you're giving the library pretty much carte blanche to write a $600,000 budget for all we know, and it can't be changed. With a Australian ballot, either it's voted up or you vote it down, and then it goes back to another vote to do it. So that's a trick. So we may end up having 2 library articles and 1 town one.
I mean, at the special,
Yeah.
Is it possible for me? Can you guys hear me? This is Ian. I'm the library director. So is it?
Trying to get it, it's clear in everybody's head on this side, and then we were gonna go to there.
Okay, yeah. Just let me know when I can hop in. That'd be fine.
Go ahead, pop right in. You're talking now. You might as well keep going.
I'll be quick anyway. I think really what it comes down to is that, and of course we have our own board and we work with them, but that it's an excellent question about what we're really asking the town to approve. And, we have 2 real streams of money. The town the tax appropriation, which, as you said, this year is 379,250, as it has been for the last 4 years. And then, some other money that's income from a little bit of investments that we have. And there's also an annual appeal and other fundraising. And there's the Friends group that also supplies money. So we, donates money. And so, we put all of those together, and we try to be very clear in our budget what we're getting from what our request of the tax appropriation is from the town, and then what's coming from other sources. But probably most important, so I'm not totally convinced that it's different. But what's really important to me is that going forward, our board, the select board, me, the town finance person, the town manager all work together in advance of the December, January meetings, so that we're all on the same page for what it is that is appropriate for the library funding. And so that's the part that I'm really most kind of committed to. And I think we're very clear, and have been for, at least in my experience, looking back a little bit, about what we're asking the town through the tax appropriation, and then the difference that we're able to support through other means, especially fundraising. And so I don't know if that helps clarify, but it's not as unclear to me as I think. Maybe I need to have more conversations with all you folks, because as I've done this the last few months, it's become very clear about how it works and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, just so you know, you're new to the area here, and in the past, the history has been that there's been some discussion at one point or another to have the town actually take over the library so they would control it. But because of the statute and the way the state has it set up, it's individually controlled by you people, and you do your own budget, and the town appropriates funds there too. So I think it's a matter of our board and someone from your board, not necessarily the whole board, but getting together so that it may not necessarily stay at 379,250. I mean, if you have some expense that you need to cover, that is unexpected or something, the appropriation of the town could always, increase, so it's not like it's gonna stick at 379, 250 forever and a day, so it's not, making concrete, but there is some sentiment out there that, if we do let it go to the vote, if the total amount of appropriation is funded by the town, then it just opens a door, the floodgate to, I mean, there's a perception out there. I'm not saying that's, everybody thinks that way, but there is a perception and it's been brought to my attention a couple of times, but, I just kind of let it go where it goes.
I appreciate you saying that. And of course, as you say, I am new to the town, and the depth of my history of all this is shallow, to say the least. And so, what I'm interested in doing is continuing to work with everybody so that I can learn more and can make sure that, as many people as possible are, kind of taking part in the process of developing the library budget and supporting the library and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, as we get closer to the time we're going to do something here, I think we should get together and figure out the wording of how you want it done and make sure your board's on the same page as everybody else is, and and get at least an indication of where we want to go with this, so that we don't confuse the public anymore than they already are. So.
Excellent idea, and I'm sure the board. I don't want to speak on behalf of the library board, but I imagine they would be, happy to, have the conversations be, more expansive, so to speak. So.
Okay, Rick.
Would there ever be an opportunity for someone from the library to bring the select board up to date, just maybe once a year? I mean, I've been on the board a year now, and I've never gotten any. I guess I could have dug it out, but I haven't gotten any direct information. For example, I saw on the warrant that there's $1,000 for a solar installation on the library that's happening. Maybe it's more than that, but I would love to know more about what's going on over there. And I'm a library patron certainly, but as a select board member, I don't feel terribly well informed about library stuff.
So, I'm not sure what that $1,000 solar installation is. So I'm pretty deeply wrapped up in the budget there. So with that, we should try to figure out what's going on with. But why don't figure out a good time for me to come, and maybe I'll work with the board and see if somebody wants to come along with me, and we can update the select board. And I'm here tonight, for instance, so I'm happy to attend any time that it would be useful as a way to inform people and answer questions and do anything like that.
Great, thank you, Ian. That's great.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Graham?
No.
God, I think it's
No,
not looking
we're good.
ready to jump in here or something, no?
Nope.
I guess you're free then. Ian, we'll let you off easy tonight.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
All right. You're welcome to hang in and listen to our further discussion if you wish.
I'm going to stick around for a bit because I enjoy these meetings. So thank you.
Okay. So we'll move along and find out how we want to proceed this in the next meeting, and set up something so we can, by then, the 30 days will be up. So if anybody has any challenge to the votes that were already taken at that town meeting, that's done and on the way. We don't have to worry about that. And then we'll proceed from there. And then it would be, a 30 days if we wanted to move forward and get something in March or first part of May before the village meeting. Because I think from what I heard from Debbie that night at town meeting, they're screwed up the same thing. So they're gonna have to redo theirs for the Australian ballot on their part. So.
You described that night, the trade-off between interactivity in the traditional New England people's democracy, stand up and say your piece, versus the Australian ballot, which more people physically vote, but they don't participate in any kind of give and take.
Right.
I think you're really losing something when the town meeting goes to just a ballot on paper.
Yeah, I think so too. I really feel that way. Yeah, but it's a hard thing when you only got 50 people there.
Well, that all becomes the argument that 50 people make a decision for 5,000. So it's like, but at this point, the Australian ballot method doesn't give you any chance to change any of the items. If we find, like in the service agencies, some of them are duplicated services, and we might say, well, why are we giving it to the same for another service that does the same thing, but just has a different name on it, you might want to commit it with Australian ballot. If they, once they petition, they get on the list. It's swelled. It was down to 70,000 before, and it was as high as 120. I can remember being that high with service station, and finally we ended up, we even had a committee that was screening everybody, had an application, they had to come to the committee, and we got raked over the coals for that, because nobody wanted to run the gauntlet, but we didn't have our clubs out, so we just, explained where we were, and everybody went by with it, and so, anyway.
But I think if you have the informational meeting enough time in between the two, the vote, and what people don't realize is, they can come to any one of our select board.
Oh, yeah.
We're discussing our
Definitely.
budget, and they can provide input then, but they don't. But if there was a set day saying, okay, this is the day we are going over our final budget, if you want to have any comments, come to this meeting,
Right.
and then it'll kind of replace, it won't be the same, obviously, as a
No.
town meeting, but it will give people a timeframe that they know that's the day you come and that's when you discuss.
But you
Yeah,
can't
and-
change anything then.
No, but I think,
No, if we hasn't, you can change it, we're still,
Well, if
if
you
we haven't
have-
finalized the budget, we can listen to towns.
At the informational meeting,
No, not the
Oh,
informational
okay.
meeting, just sort of set a meeting well enough in advance in our budget process
you mean as a select board?
as a select board.
yeah.
And then, so that it becomes like, I don't know what, that becomes the tradition. That, okay, it's 1 month or whatever before town meeting, that's when we're finalizing our budget. This is the time that you have the last time to say anything before it goes to Australian ballot.
So they can say something, can they vote?
No, they can't vote, but that's
Right,
the
so they
problem.
still can't really.
Well, no,
vote.
but they can come in
they
and
can
say,
come in
like
and
they
say
do
their
at
piece.
traditional town meeting,
Yeah.
and say, well, why don't we reduce, take 3 people out of servicing?
Mhm.
And then the board can make that decision, but, it doesn't mean that we have to do what they want. They say to cut recycling center $50,000. Well, they can't tell you where to cut. They can say, reduce the budget by 50,000, and then it's up to the board to find out where they want to cut it.
Right, but in the town meeting way, article by article, they could just not pass them.
Right,
But that rarely
Before.
happens. It rarely happens.
yeah, it really
anyhow.
happens, very,
And-
very seldom.
Yeah, very rarely happens. for
The only,
some
you
reason.
think that you get is a
Yeah.
lot of amend the budget,
Right,
cut this or do that, or then at the end, they'll tell you, like, when we had the highway supervisor position, we eliminated that 2 years ago, and they said, well, put the $119,500 back in, and put the engineer back in. Well, they can tell you to put the money back in, but they can't tell you to hire the person, so
Mhm,
it was sort of a moot point, but
mhm.
they had the opportunity to do that with Australian ballot. You can discuss it, but you can't make any changes. So,
So at this special meeting, it's gonna be yes or no, we're gonna go to Australia.
Right,
And it's gonna
basically
be up to the voters at that time.
Yeah.
Whoever shows up.
and it's at a meeting, you're not going down to the temple and do an Australian ballot vote. It's from the floor, has to be from the floor. Cannot be done by,
That kind of makes me think it's likely to fail, because
well,
the same people
As-
that'll
as
come
I
to that
said-
meeting are the same people that will come to.
well, as I said, coming in, you need to get enough publicity out there about the fact, because we had 600 and some odd voters voting at this last election, where,
Right,
as you saw, that night we did the informational meeting, they had maybe about 40, 50 here.
mhm.
So, as I say, it goes back to the 50 people making the decision
I
for
know,
5,000
I
people in the town. And, those people that are interested are gonna show up, and those that aren't are just, figure they can vote. Whether they're knowledgeable about what they're voting on or not is their position, I guess, but,
Boy, it's tough.
Yeah, it
It's a
is.
hard thing.
but a lot of people have gone Australian ballot simply to get the additional turnout.
Right, yeah.
And around in the history, as you know, probably the only time you get when it was a town meeting from the floor, the only time you got a crowd was when there was a contentious
Right,
election
yeah.
coming up. Somebody that nobody wanted to get elected would show up, and they'd come out in mass, and people would get voted, or a particular article would get voted. So it's,
But pre-COVID, there were more people, we were upstairs.
Yeah.
More people came.
yeah.
Yeah,
But there's
because
still
we had-
only about 100 talks.
Yeah, roughly about 100, yeah. 100 people, but even then, but then as time went on, and, nothing really changed, and the budget was pretty consistent. people that, as long as you don't really slam the budget and really inflate it, the tax rate, you're pretty well assured that things are gonna go copacetic. I mean, the meeting this year was pretty easy. We had everything as confused as it was looking in the town report. It was easy to explain and people just accepted it. Somebody explained it to them and it was simply done, so.
Like our budget was 435 to 70.
And speaking of that, the 4-cent increase amounts to $80 in your tax bill. But on the other hand, your school budgets have gone down by $1 million apiece. And the town is going to get the bigger chunk. Town of Rockingham has paid the biggest share of the school budget. They pay 66% of it. So of the amount of money that went down, it's going to offset the 80 cents, $80 in your tax rate that is going to be added. So it's sort of a win-win situation, but the thing is not to get that, the trick is not to get in the habit of depending on that money that's going to be there. I mean, Governor Scott can't get the money to have them turn the $49 million back to the taxpayers that they're overspent, but yeah, but the education, they want it for something else. It's like your marijuana thing, it's another article came out, like you pass a 1% local tax, you get no revenue. And they're even now debating reducing the amount of $100 license that you can hand out.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's the opposite of what you
The
do.
last VLCT report, there's a note in there.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I know, but anyway. Okay, so we'll go forward with this in our next meeting, April, and decide whether we want to have one or what date we want to do it, and then we can proceed from there. Because I say, we need to give enough time to get publicity out there, press release, and get people to turn up, and if we have to, we can have it upstairs. Now that, there's plenty of room for 400 people spread out there, I'm sure. So.
For the 100.
Well, the
show up.
ceiling will keep falling down on our head, but I think that's more or less up in the balcony, so we don't have any balcony sitters up there, so not for town meeting. Okay, let's go to financials. There's in your packet. Everything looked pretty copacetic to me, other than the fact that recycle is a little bit behind. The thing that kind of struck me was the access stickers are running a bit behind. I don't know why that is. If we hadn't had that grant from the chartered venue, and let's all close the doors to the theater, we're losing back about 30 grand between you get down between that, and if it hadn't been for, we get the $144,000, we'd have been, so, and that's due to attendance, basically. I mean, attendance is terrible. If anybody have any other questions, I've got a list of few of them here.
I wrote to Scott about the contract with Dominion Tech, which is,
Did you look at the finances this week?
yeah.
Did you see there are only $30,000 we paid them? I don't know where you come up with 73,000, like, kind of like you explained that one.
Okay, well, I came up with, sorry, I may have misadded, but I had 70,000 was per year.
Yeah, but $2,400 a month times 12 will get you $28,000.
Exactly, that's why when I saw all those other charges, if you look, all the charges, not just their monthly fee, but there was like an $800 charge for when somebody had a tech support problem. You pay, Scott can clearly help me. So we paid $24,000 a month for the contract. Then we pay additional for when someone shows up here to do tech support.
No, you pay, well, there's a few pots of money that go into this monthly bill, right? Just all of our software support, so Office and our Sophos and our protections for all of our networks and all that. So those are licenses, software licensing.
Yeah,
That's
I
one
didn't-
number,
I didn't include those.
right? That's like $1,200 a month. That's just a number that
Yeah.
we pay because of all these, all of those protections. Then on top of that, we're paying another roughly $2,400 for the town, and then the village's share is another $1,600, but that's probably where you're coming up with that bigger number. So,
And the village has separate software than the town?
well, they cover things like the police and their servers and some of the other things that are
Sewer
not
department,
town
water department.
services, sewer, water.
Okay, so they don't share a system with us.
It's one integrated network, so to speak, but we break out those allocations because town shouldn't be supporting the village water, village sewer,
Yeah.
and the PD function.
Okay.
So that's where you get the bigger number from. And then we do get service-related charges. For example, when we created the additional Wi-Fi hotspot down here and did all that additional work, they came down, did some wiring, put in a new system, which actually worked pretty well for the town informational meeting. I was actually pleased.
Yeah.
And it seems to be doing its job. We did some of the work in the, when we have aspects like that, we charge that accordingly, but we've also spent some money in the lobby trying to update some of those Wi-Fi areas to help with the Spectrix install and that kind of thing. So when we have those specific projects, those are separated costs and they're sort of project-related costs. So, but to get to the broader point, Rick had asked me what other options are available. We have reached out to another outfit, which is called the Tech Group, and they're out of South Burlington. They were some of the same people that were originally in Dominion Tech. They broke off and created their own network support company. And their pricing, I've met with them. They've given me pricing and support services proposal, which is pretty much consistent with what Dominion Tech has. And then there's a third company that we've reached out to, and they're more located over in Keene, but they're expanding this direction. And they're giving us a proposal. They're new, to my information, they're new, but they've been doing a lot of work across the river. So they're in Walpole, they're in Keene, they're in a couple, some of that sort of more New Hampshire focused, but obviously they're fairly close to us compared to these folks which are in Burlington.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get a proposal from them as well, and we'll see where we stand.
That's great. I'm glad you're getting that out because it's a big number.
Yeah, it is.
It
Seems to
is.
swell as you go along and, but, you gotta remember, Nemrick actually was doing that before. These other, just, and what happened is Nemrick's people jumped ship to Dominion Tech.
Oh,
And Nemrick said, well, keep it in the family. They recommended we go with Dominion Tech because their people were more familiar with our systems. So that's how it transgressed into Dominion Tech.
okay. I didn't
So,
know.
yeah, well, that's sort of a little background, just so you know.
But I mean, it's also cybersecurity is something we
Oh,
really have
yeah.
to be focused on, especially now. It's just gonna get worse.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna get worse now, especially with that guy with the new button over there in
Yeah.
Russia. I mean,
So you don't wanna mess around with that. You don't wanna mess around with not following proper licenses, because that can come back into.
Right.
the big
It's a
expense.
constant set of updates and
Mhm.
continuous upgrades, and the security thing is real. That's a real challenge. We're getting weekly updates on security related issues.
Patches and stuff.
Yeah.
it doesn't bear keeping an eye on it anyway.
We'll get those prices, and I'll come back to the board when I get all that put together and just give you guys an update.
Okay, page 2, Scott, of 13.
Yeah,
Can we get that heading of charges for services switched around from the first line, because it's kind of dopey looking sitting up there.
that bothers, yeah, I see it, yep.
Okay. I noticed the dog license are way behind the budget. Can we probably get a list of unlicensed dogs? I know we go through this every 2 or 3 years.
But is the deadline here? I thought it was like April 1st. Here's the
Yeah.
deadline.
It's after the last bunch, because I know they'll start advertising for your rabies shots and stuff and clinics that they have.
Yeah.
So I think we should after
We
sometime.
can try to do
February
some
2nd meeting,
advertising, maybe people.
if we can
just
get
sort of-
a list from her, and I know we can put Cass on it, but good luck with that. I mean, trying to get somebody to update. And I noticed, there's been some expense on page 4. The executive assistant to manager, there's about $8,400 paid out. Who's doing that? Do we know?
Well, some of that was, don't forget, we're in the current year, so some of that was the previous person that was.
When
in there.
Ally was, okay.
Then we
I
had some
thought that
temporary
was-
work in
sorry,
there,
yeah,
right,
that's correct.
right.
Then there was a rental income on the top of the page of $7,500. Do we know what that is?
For the theater? For the
Yeah,
theater?
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
guess
the
so.
way that it cuts off, it's a little confusing, but that's right.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's on the theater.
Yes.
Is that income for the shows or something, or?
I think it's for the live shows, for just the various rentals people have had, periodic, private events, and also,
On page 5, you'll see there's a $21,000 professional service. I believe that's Cynthia from Number on the financials.
yes.
Yeah, so town hall phone looks like it's getting carried away there. Budget 15 up to $8,200. What's for that?
Some of that is we've reallocated, I think we've consolidated some because we had like multiple points in the budget where we're charging out phone lines, different things, and I think we brought it all into one location. And there's an offset to that, but I'll give you the update as to where those other items came from.
Okay, flip over to page 7 of 13. Let's go to town-owned property, the maintenance of the stable building. It's not even there anymore. Can we get that line removed?
Yeah.
It's been gone for 4 or
Mention
5
that.
years.
Gone.
And then that other one says park and ride electricity. Is that for the charging station down there? I just made the title ought to be changed to charging station because park and ride would make you think it's the one up by the Hoover,
Mhm.
So, I think the Waypoint has its own charging station account for electricity.
Well, that's what I'm asking. It says park and ride electricity, but the
think this
title
is
is
for lights.
misleading because park and ride is actually
Okay, it's
people.
not showing up under
Right, it's-
Waypoint.
More than that, I think.
Yeah. So it's just, yeah, it's kind of weird. It should be, if it is a charging station down there, maybe it should just say Waypoint Charging Station or something instead of just,
Yeah,
Yeah.
to be clear, because we want to keep
Yeah.
track of those.
right,
Because we can start charging that, what, another
5
year?
years. I think.
5 years? Or 2 years? I thought it was 3 years.
2 years or something like that, but I know it was a 5-year deal when they got set up.
I think 3 years is without any charges, and then after that, I think we can start to incrementally capture
Yeah,
costs.
so we want to sort of figure out what those costs are.
Yep.
Page 8, looks like CLG projects 13.4 versus 55, but that was some grant funding, I think, was involved in that.
Yeah.
Right.
Page 10 of 13. We're getting close, folks. Wages maintenance under recreation. 10,600, which is almost double what we budgeted. What? Do we have some issues up there that need to take care of? Which is, I don't understand what the wages maintenance are. We got wages, playground wages, pool.
I'll double check. I think that some of that might be a coding problem, Peter, because I don't think that that's the.
Because you go no further down and there's a maintenance article in there, which was for outside items, I believe.
Right. I think that's just more of a coding, because if you look at their total, they're well under, so I think that might have been just ours coded properly.
Page 11, I think the clock tower lighting and the pump track expenses, those were all grants, if I'm not mistaken, right there.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty close.
There's offsets to
Yeah.
that, correct?
Okay. I think I'm done with that. Something else I can think of. Salt chloride in highway on page 2 of 5 is catching up a little bit there. But that's due to the weather, so it's not much you can do about that. Hopefully we're done, but I wouldn't want to count on anything.
Yeah.
Supposed to get warm next week, next couple of weeks, so maybe it'll all melt, go away.
No, sugar.
No,
Not
it's right.
happening.
No, it's not doing very well from what I understand, so. I guess I'm done. Anybody else got anything?
On that solar thing that I inspired. I guess the warrant.
Yeah, I didn't catch that in the budget, so I couldn't find my library budget. Check that.
You think it was a previous one?
It's not one of the.
It's on one of the payment, yeah, this is the one that she sent us on March 9th.
Is that Nova Solar or something?
Yeah, oh, here it is, Novus Rock Solar. It says library solar project, $1,443.
So I'll jump in anytime you want me to jump in.
All right, you didn't even answer that question.
You're still there.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Look around.
So we actually, we contract with the solar field that's, I actually am not sure exactly where it is. It's nearby, and we buy a percentage of our electricity through solar generation. So there's that, and that, we pay about if I remember, $28,000 a year in electric costs, which includes heating and cooling the building, their heat pumps, and and it's a large building. It's like 17,000 square feet. So there's no solar on the building itself. When the building was renovated, there was solar anchors put into place on parts of the roof, but ultimately it was determined that wasn't going to work. So sometime around then 2014, 15, I think, maybe a little after, the library contracted with this solar group. So it's a way we're buying electricity. It's generated from solar. And, during the summer, we tend to run credits, and during the winter, we tend to use those credits up. And so we have a monthly solar electric cost. It's from a Solar Novus or whatever it's called. I'd have to look into it. But that's the solar thing. It's not new. It's the way it's been done for at least the last, I'd say 6 or 7 years, I think, but I could check on that.
That's the same company that we're working with to put a solar farm right up on the town gravel pit. On 103. So we'll have one right in town.
So we'll save a bunch of money on solar on the electricity in the future. Is that? I'm just kidding.
Well, we had done previous contracts, so I think we have some solar offsets already.
Yeah.
Based on
Right.
previous contracts that we'd already entered into.
Yeah, 'cause I've seen some other Novas.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one. It's also up there. It's across the road
Yeah, no,
from the pit.
Okay,
okay.
thank you. I didn't recall a solar panel on the library, so that's where that.
Me neither.
That's a
Good question.
Project maybe, the nomenclature project might be a little misleading there.
Yeah. And then my only last question was $1,000 to change a green light. That can't be right. There's a thing that said $1,100 for green light. Can we? All right, sorry. I'm
Was that the
getting-
Red Light Hill thing?
Yeah, that light was out.
That
for a
was
while.
very expensive.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have.
Well, I think we went to LED. We did.
Yeah, we went to LED with
Oh, it's a converted LED.
There's
Okay.
one LED now.
That little last.
Yeah.
forever.
Right.
As long as it's not hit by lightning or by a truck or some other unfortunate
Go ahead and
circumstance.
jinx it.
I just want to make sure we all know that nothing lasts forever.
Enough things happen in around here. We don't need to start
Alright, that's-
jinxing it.
The liquor license are making their rounds. Getting a lot there. Okay, next item will be review and approve orders, bills and warrants. I'll take a motion. They're sitting here. For signatures, so,
I so moved that we,
okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made and seconded to review and approve orders, bills and warrants. Any discussion? Since we already beat them up already for the finances, I guess that covers it. All right, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Got them that way. Motion carries. Agenda items for the April 5 board meeting. We'll probably have the discussion again, the continued discussion on the spring ballot.
Yep.
I have something, Wyndham County Commission Transportation Committee will be putting in for bridge projects, so, our recommendations for various bridge projects, and we haven't looked at every year we look at our bridge report. I don't think we've done it for several years.
Yeah.
And so we need to recommend to the Transportation Committee which bridges we would like to put forward for potential funding. And there's other, we're dealing with a lot now, but there's there's others.
Oh, yeah.
That are in that fair condition that need to get on this list, because the lead time is years, as we know, so
Yeah,
I think we need to, we can,
one definitely is the Bridge Street Bridge, and that's definitely.
well, yeah,
on there,
that
and
one.
That may be on their radar already.
That's already on the list, isn't it?
And then there's, well, there's several, and then, but anyway, if we can get the printout, I think we only really have to look at the ones that are rated fair at this point, we have to go with the other ones,
Yeah.
and determine what we want to recommend
that
to Wyndham County.
Cover, like culvert, like bridges. where
20
they've
foot
got-
over,
Oh, 20 foot.
it's
over.
anything over 20 feet, and so it could be a culvert that's 20.
Yeah,
but-
you know, for some of them, especially on 121, we were looking at that one because the head walls are getting shot and you can see the. road
Yeah, I don't know if
sinking
it's
on
over
both
20
sides.
feet though.
I don't know, close.
But anyway, we can do that because the time frame is the committee is going to look at them on our next meeting, which is the second Tuesday of the month of April. And
Okay,
then we'll put our recommendations to the state in the May meeting, so.
okay. Yeah, we meet the 5th, so we'll have it for that. Yep.
Anyone else have any ideas or?
Just in general, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can, I mean, we got a couple weeks, so it's gonna be a Linda Scott, so we can
All right,
get them on, and we'll get a draft agenda out anyway, so.
Our link with the town plan process is something I'm being thought to, and let's see, Chuck sent out a really interesting, I don't know if you saw that, really interesting memo today about how the town plan really constrains a lot of, or defines, is probably a better word, a lot of what we can do. And I was wondering, I'm gonna attend the meeting tomorrow, Thursday night. Is the planning committee meeting where they're gonna be going through that, but I just wondering how we should or do link with the town plan process. But how, what's the intersection?
It comes back to us for review and acceptance. We have to, I don't know when it's ever gonna get it, because it's a 5-year thing or 35
Yeah, but
years.
it's in the process.
They're supposed to.
Is
so
it-
it's
is
a
it 8
process.
years now, they changed it to an 8-year plan.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
So it's in process now,
Yeah.
it would come to us,
sometime within the year, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before the end of the year.
Usually the planning commission will go through it and they'll have it, and then it'll come from them with a recommendation, the select board will take a look at it, and then it'll go for approval.
does a person come and present it to us? Or how does that, what's that process look like?
I've never, as long as I've been, they just give us the packet, we read it, then I guess when it's on the agenda for discussion, someone usually comes and answers questions if you've got anything you want to get done before the final draft is done.
All right, because I think it's gonna take some time, it's incredibly complicated also with all the new factors of climate change. And
Oh, yeah.
I was just reading one part about when we replace culverts now, if the fish can't get through them, you have to put in a box culvert instead of and the cost of a box culvert versus
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so there's stuff that will really affect our,
Cheap, as they say.
that's for sure.
I think it would be worthwhile to, I mean, we were working chapter by chapter on that plan. And I think it would be worthwhile to have planning commission present each chapter. Because the whole thing is gargantuan.
Yeah, I know.
That's
Yeah.
not a bad idea.
Just, you know.
You break it
how-
up into
Because that's how they
sections,
used
it's
to
a
do it.
little more
They get 2 or
digestible.
3
Yeah.
chapters done.
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming.
Send us a
Yeah, I
packet.
mean,
look
we-
them
we'd
over
be
and see
here
if we
That
have-
makes more
For
sense.
3 days.
The whole thing is-
Trying to read
Oh, my
the whole
God.
We
thing.
really went through it all,
We
yeah,
got
I
the
think
old
you'd be,
So
yeah.
I think, you know, we should talk to Chuck and say, all right, what chapters are completed? I think, I don't know, when I was chair, we had land use completely completed. I think they revised it a little bit since after COVID.
Maybe we get
But-
get an
but we-
update on that. and
Yeah, we
go
could
from there.
start reviewing the chapters as they
And-
finish them.
And also, I mean, most townspeople are not going to the planning commission boards and they don't even know, but they might pay attention to the select board meeting or they'll look at the Zoom meeting where we talk about it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it drives zoning, is the other thing, is that we
Yeah.
can't make a zoning change without having hit in the town plan, so that's
No,
significant.
it's really important and nobody has as much awareness of that. I think it'd be good to start working with them at this point.
And it's a-
Hopefully they're gonna finish. We wanted to have it done over a year ago. That was our deadline when I was the chair.
If anybody else has any other suggestions or ideas or things, you can get it to Scott and he'll send me a draft agenda and we'll go over it. See what we got. All right, review agenda items for the joint board.
We'll have our tax sale list, which we've talked about, so.
Is the inclusion gonna be in there too? I think I thought that was,
For the joint board,
yeah,
we could certainly put it on for that.
I didn't know if they were, I thought I heard rumors that was supposed to be on
I
there.
haven't brought it to the villages, they'll put it on their next
We-
agenda, but it makes sense to do it as a
trustees-
joint
have the-
board, it just makes
Have the
it simple.
trustees gone over it? I think.
No, I'm gonna put it on their next
Okay,
agenda,
so-
so,
All right.
and then maybe that makes sense for just doing it. as a
Also,
joint.
the town clerk issue is gonna be on there, I think.
Yep, we'll talk about
Just
that.
looking for an increase in election expenses and an increase on her salary, which is too late to do anything now, but assuming the budget's already passed, but
How's your staffing issue coming out? It wasn't,
I don't know, I think if it gets into personnel, we have to be careful, we wanna be going into, we should be doing an executive session, we're discussing personnel versus an open meeting, but just so you know, that might be coming up on the docket, so. But at least to get someone on the floor, we can go from there.
We're gonna have an ARPA update, which is another, at least from our meeting from this week, plus sort of where we stand kind of thing, so since we'll have reports there, we'll have that on as well.
And that is the 29th. We can mark the
66
calendars, we did March 29th. Okay.
And I think the other thing, and Gary was right, we thought we'd at least start a conversation to talk about reuse or redevelopment of the 66 Atkinson parcel. So we'll add that one as well.
Gary, before you leave, I got to talk to you. There's something here. Just
What are
look
we
for the yellow,
signing here?
look for the yellow tabs.
Those are all your. liquor
There's
licenses.
some of them, there's about one of them, I think the booth has about four pages or 4 things to sign. so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of extraneous papers.
quick question for you, Scott. What process would you recommend as we approach the 66 Atkinson? Because the school people might be interested in it. There's some interest in putting it up, getting it on the tax rolls. How will that discussion be managed?
I think the idea is, I just want to get some direction from the board in terms of I'm not looking for a specific, like, we're only going to take these proposals or we're going to do this process, but I think, does it meet within some of your general guidelines, for example, if we look at supporting after daycare programs, which might support some of our working families, since we seem to be having a little issue with that, or other types of reuse that are supporting a larger need in the community. And maybe also some of the things that we talked about that we're really not interested in, like, does it make a lot of sense to put a parking lot there? I don't think anybody's mind it does. I mean, some things that we can just sort of clear the deck, so that gives us a chance to move the process along to see if there's a way that we can start to take real interested and somewhat more developed proposals from people that we can then talk about, as an action item as opposed to just generic. Right.
The RFP process, and so would interested parties would submit an RFP, and once we put a frame around it with, like, we don't want a parking lot, right? How does that look like?
Well, I think what you would be doing at that point, I don't know if you'd have a formal RFP as much as you just have that as an item that we would then go out and market and say, we have this property, it's available. These are some guidelines that we're looking for development. And if you're interested, please contact us and see how that works, as opposed to trying to target a deadline for it.
Okay.
And we'll see what we get. So,
There's a ton that aqua discussion tomorrow night for youth, community center, et cetera, but the problem with that is that there's no parking available for that. So it's not a very good location, plus the traffic, entrance and stuff. It's a good idea, but that's not the place for it, I don't think. I got some ideas I want to run by Gary, but, and when he gets some answers, I think this time we can approach that. There's probably 2 or 3 other locations I'm thinking about. That might work better, but it's going to be on discussion tomorrow night, so. Expenditure on aqua going in and coming back out, you know, how you're gonna get in and out of there. It's tough when you got the red light out there and then the traffic on School Street coming the other way, you know, with the school buses and everything else. It's a madhouse down there. And then if you look at the setbacks, the zoning regulations, you know, with landscaping and stuff, parking lot, maybe get 5 or 6 cars in there. That's, plus it's not on a back roads at that point, so.
Yeah.
We need to get something, you know, there. Okay, there's no need for an executive session. Let's go to other business, Rick. Sue? Nothing, Bonnie?
Well, one idea. We were talking about trying to get participation in our meetings. An idea I just thought of today when they were putting up that sandwich board sign out there for the ARPA meeting tomorrow. Can we get a sandwich board sign that says select board meeting tonight? And just put it out the day of our meeting?
They do that in Putney.
Let's see if I could.
It just seems like, you know, people are driving, walking.
Temporary,
by.
want to check the zoning regulations. I know that might be a little squeamish in there, but it shouldn't be, but yeah. That's,
I think
yeah, I
it's a good
think,
idea.
It would, you know, sort of just make people a little more aware, maybe think of it, you know.
The warrants running around somewhere?
They're here.
that- oh, that's right. It's got wrong the other way. Scott, at this point, do we want to talk about that Future Institute thing down there?
Sure.
Scott and I talked about that. That's the urine recycling
Oh, right.
situation.
Richard.
They're sort of pushing us to get something done and install something down there. Scott and I talked earlier that the covers that they put up down there to cover the machinery, I don't think they ever got a permit from the town, so it's only to put those up in Westminster. Now, we're putting an addition, or the thing that I had a question of Scott was, in the proposal that REI had made, was that the town is going to be responsible for the building with the EPDM flooring and stuff, so there's no leakage and stuff. But to me, I don't think the town needs to eat that expense. If they want to put their system in, I think they should do it. Plus, it also becomes an issue of what the impact is going to be on our taxes. As you all know, Westminster is looking for any way to get back at us for our $35 charge for access stickers. And of course, we could also go back and try to appeal our taxes, but you know, they double them pretty much. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the first year we won our case, they weren't allowed to do it, but then the next year they came back and they stuck it right to us. So, but there's that, plus also down there recycling, where Scott was talking about that building with the tires, the food scraps in it is, you know, you're taking your life in your hands, walking on the floors.
It's getting more
About
severely. as
Almost
time
in the
goes
dirt,
by.
you
I
know?
talked to Larry about this.
And
It's like,
so we gotta figure out what we wanna do with that. That's gonna be another thing that's gonna add expense down there. So we hope we're getting to the point of, you know, breaking even. It's gonna throw us back into the red again with that building, but I don't know how we wanna approach that. I guess there must be some local contractors that could put some sort of a building up that, you
There
know,
is.
pole barn type of building or something. I got a couple of contractors in mind. I'm sure we could do it.
Yeah.
Treat us fairly well.
Yeah.
I'll give you some names and we can get them in here and go over it.
Yeah, because we can either do it in a controlled way, or we can wait till it collapses, and then we have to do it in an uncontrolled sort of panic way, so.
Yeah,
It's
well, I
good.
know I've shoveled up some of the food scraps off the floor in there before when I was down there and, you know, I don't know whether it's the animals or whether it's Larry claims it's the guys that pick it up. They're not very careful. They just dump stuff over and put it on the ground or on the floor and sits there and stays there. They don't clean it up and
terrible.
It's a
Larry's
mess,
been after
yeah.
them and stuff. It looks
Right.
pretty, pardon my friend, shitty.
I've got another
It's just that kind of-
vendor,
People shouldn't have to walk through that stuff.
another vendor who's very interested in our food scraps, and I think we might be making a.
Yeah,
change there,
Scott's
too.
got another proposal for food scraps,
Yeah.
so maybe we'll work something out there too, so.
That's good. And we built some real low maintenance, you know, where we have not a synthetic floor, so it won't rot. And it- use materials that are gonna last a long time.
I think we use pressure treated because we've got what's down there now, just vertical lumber that in, put in pressure treated, so all that stuff rotted out.
And all
And
food juices go into the floor. It's,
yeah, so.
sorry.
It's disgusting.
Bonnie's expression. was-
Yeah, it's not the best thing, but these other people
I
have.
mean, I hate using it, I'm like,
Yeah, I know, yeah.
it's God.
Yeah. Well, that's the nature of the beast. Okay, no executive session need for executive session, so I guess we're ready
This goes to
to
Scott,
adjourn.
right?
If,
I think Betsy had a question.
oh, go ahead, Betsy.
Here, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this goes.
I don't have a question. Actually, I just wanted to mention that Cass Wright put on Facebook, there's a rabies clinic this Saturday. So that might help get those dog licenses in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was pretty close to the time they started advertising that.
Fire station again?
At the fire station, 10:30 to 12.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Betsy. Hey, hearing no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor will say aye. Aye.